Alrighty guys, welcome back to another Joker Spotlight. I just made the next Joker Spotlight and realized that video is going to take me a long time to edit, and I just got back from vacation and I don't know if I'd be able to have it ready for you guys in time for Wednesday. So I'm going to make a very much shorter video right now on a Joker we can discuss that will kind of preemptively set us up for the next episode in a roundabout way. However, before we get too far, I want to discuss a little bit about Oops All Sixes that I didn't feel like I discussed very well. And if you guys are not interested in hearing about my corrections to Oops All Sixes, I have timestamps now. I will be honest with you, when I went away on vacation, I forgot to do that in the Oops All Sixes. So yes, thank you for reminding me in chat. And yes, better audio is on the way. It is something that I've been wanting to work on. We have a really nice microphone setup. It's just obviously when I look away this way, and sometimes when I want to peek the microphone, it peaks, and I just little things I need to focus on the channel. So I do appreciate all the comments, guys. It does mean a lot. If you guys are not interested in hearing this part though, I do recommend just clicking on the timestamp and we'll go to today's Joker. One of the things that I wanted to just add on to about Oops was I mentioned about Oops maybe only being valid to take on Plasma deck or on the Black deck where you have an extra Joker slot. Maybe even taking it when you have just used an Ectoplasm, so you have now 6 slots. However, I did some thinking about this while I was away, and I went, well, wait a second. Let's say you have a ×2 Joker, a ×2 Joker, and a ×3 Joker. So let's pretend right now we have the Duo, we have Seeing Double, and we have Card Sharp. Now, let's say we're gonna play a base pair, which obviously if you're playing pairs, it would be more than base, but for the sake of the example, let's use it. Let's say I play a pair and it gives me 2 molts, and we times that by 2, which is 4. We're going to times that by 2 again, which is 8. And then we're going to times that by 3, which is 24 molts. Now let's say we're utilizing an Oops All Sixes with a Sock and Buskin, which is going to re-trigger our face cards, and our face cards have lucky cards. And because of the fact that we're able to re-trigger all of these lucky cards faster, and with an Oops All Sixes, so they have a better tendency of hitting, we can scale Jokers like Lucky Cat way faster than we could without those 2 other Jokers assisting it. Meaning we wouldn't need to have other multiplicative Jokers helping it. The best example that I can think of is this is, let's say we're able to get Lucky Cat up to a 12, which isn't really that difficult to do if you have an Oops and a Sock and Buskin. And well, guess what? 2 times 12 is 24, which means those 3 Jokers that I just said before are now just as valuable as the 1 Lucky Cat with 1 Oops and a Sock and Buskin. So yes, at the end of the day, you're going to use your Jokers where it matters. But at the end of the day, don't just assume that taking up a Joker slot with a card that's not doing anything, it is. I like to compare this to maybe using DNA with hologram, right? Yeah, DNA is taking up a Joker slot, but every time you're using it, you're adding 0.25 molt into your deck. So every round, you're adding 0.25 molt to that Joker. And if you have a blueprint, you're adding 0.5 molt because you're able to copy that DNA. Now, we'll get into that strategy when we do the hologram video and all of that. But for the sake of today, let's move on to our Joker Spotlight. The next video that we are making will be about Smeared Joker and all of the Jokers that go into accompanying it. However, that video was kind of long because it was 5 Jokers that we heavily discussed, and today I really only want to discuss 1 because I don't have a lot of time to edit this video. So today we're going to be discussing my favorite multiplicative, that's my favorite word today apparently, times molt, that's probably the better way of saying it, Joker in the game. That is Blackboard. And everybody was on, C-dubs, why is that your favorite? There are so many more, like, there's so much better times molt Jokers out there. And you go, yes, there is. I will admit, like, Card Sharp, in my opinion, is better than Blackboard. But I didn't say better, guys. I said my favorite. There's a big difference in this game when it comes to my favorite Jokers and better Jokers. Just saying. I play high scoring runs, so DNA is one of my favorite Jokers in the game. If you go up to any gold stake player and they go, Where does DNA rank on your best Joker list? They're gonna give you a D or an F every single time. But if you come over to me, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's an S tier Joker, because I play high scoring runs and DNA is essential and extremely helpful. So Blackboard, C-dubs, why is it your favorite? I don't know. It's just been a Joker that I've always naturally set myself up for. I will discuss in the next video. Arrowhead is one of my favorite Jokers to play. So is Onyx Agate. Onyx Agate gives you +7 molt when you are playing one club. So if you're playing maybe a 2-pair and they both, you know, and you're able to play like 2 clubs, it's 14 molt. Or maybe you're playing flushes and you're able to get 35 molt. Onyx Agate's a really good plus Joker in an emergency type situations. It also might be, you know, you have an Onyx Agate with a Hanging Chad, which will re-trigger that first play Joker twice. And then all of a sudden, that's 21 molt. So an easy 21 molt isn't too shabby when we start to think of it at the end of the day, when we try to work our way with the Buster Supernova up to 21, right? Or at least higher. I mean, maybe a lot higher, but you understand the point, where with an Onyx Agate and a Hanging Chad, you immediately have 21 molt. Because I like Arrowhead and Onyx Agate so much, I have a natural tendency to turn my entire deck into clubs and spades. Because of that, Blackboard naturally becomes one of my favorite Joker, and here's why. Blackboard gives you ×3 molt if all cards held in hand are spades and clubs. Meaning, if I play a 2-pair, I can play my hearts and my diamonds and leave my spades and my clubs in my hand. And if I do that, I get ×3 molt. It's not too bad. You can use things like wild cards and whatnot to help you out with this, and that might make wild cards more fun to play with. I don't see wild cards played with a whole lot. I am on team, I feel like Lover's tarot card needs to maybe be buffed to 2, but hey, I'm not a dev. They're smarter than I am. I'm sure they have very good reason to keep it at 1. In the meantime, we can have fun rioting, right? Resurfacing back over to Blackboard. It is an uncommon Joker, just like we've been discussing. We only want to do uncommon and rares on these long-term segments. And the cool thing about Blackboard too is it's available from the start. You don't have to do anything special to unlock it. You just have access to it immediately. It immediately makes for a Joker that I try to set up for when I'm starting on maybe on mobile edition, right? Where I want to go through the game. Before I get too much into strategy on the Joker, we can talk very much basics. I'm going to run down through this. Some of what I have for notes is really just what I have for notes at this point, because I've looked at other notes on the Joker, and it's not that I disagree with it. It's just that I don't feel like it's necessarily relevant. Obviously, the big perk to Blackboard is on checkered deck, is, you know, checkered deck is being half spades, half hearts. You have a much better chance. Maybe you can play a heart flush and leave all of your spades in hand, giving you an easy ×3 molt. The other reason why I really like this Joker is, like, let's say you're not playing flushes. Let's say you're playing maybe pairs, or you're playing, in my opinion, my favorite, which is 2-pair. I have a tendency of really trying to play maybe hearts and diamonds, and then keeping my spades and my clubs in hand. Or you can do the route that I was saying at the beginning of the video and just start naturally turning all of your cards into spades and clubs using the Moon and the World tarot cards. And over time, you're able to do 3 cards at a time with those tarot cards. And that's extremely powerful, because after a while, you can really thin the deck down, especially with the use of a Fool tarot card. Get more of those tarot cards. We'll talk about Cartomancer later down the road. Put the description for Cartomancer on the screen here. But one of the big reasons why I love maybe a purple seal, the Cartomancer, is you're always pretty much able to get a tarot card. And if you are, you can... I need to remember where I was and what I was saying, and if the next part of my video doesn't make any sense at all, it's because I had to kind of erase a few things because my computer overheated apparently, which is kind of odd. I don't really know what was going on there, but let's continue. One of the things that I do love about Blackboard is that I feel like I can play things like a 2-pair or a pair, or let's say you can play a pair, then throw away. You can play throwaway cards, is what I like to call them. It's kind of like when you play the bus and you want to play a 2-pair, then throw away a king or play a king. the king won't score or hit the bus, and it gets rid of it. So it acts like a discard. I like to do that with Blackboard. So maybe you can play a pair and then just shove all of the other diamonds and hearts into your hand, leaving things like clubs and spades in your hand, so you don't have to worry about it as much. Some small things that I really did want to go over that, like I said, I just don't feel like is listed, and it's just things that I personally have come across. There's a lot of things that make this Joker not as nice. And what I mean by this is, actually, you know what? Let's synergize this with things that make it nice. So let's say you have the Stuntman, which is a Joker that basically reduces your hand size by 2. And when it does that, it allows you maybe to play all of your cards except for one, which allows Blackboard to trigger even easier. Also, you can have nothing in your hand and Blackboard will still trigger. So fun fact on that one. However, if your hand has a stone card in it, then it won't trigger. So just beware on that one. It has to be either nothing or spades and clubs. So along that line, cards like Mary Andy are also helpful because you can keep discarding to get the cards that you want in your hand maybe before playing like the hand that you want to play. That kind of synergizes with a lot of Jokers though, so it's kind of pushing the threshold of what should be in this video, but we'll allow it. However, because of what I just explained to you, think of that on the reverse end. So maybe taking the Painter voucher, which makes your hand size even bigger. Maybe taking the Juggler, making your hand size even bigger. A Troubadour, making your hand size even bigger. Isn't the most ideal Joker to carry with Blackboard. It can kind of, you know, make it harder to trigger that effect of the Blackboard. Honestly though, long story short, there are 2 major strategies you can do. You can do the pair thing that I just said. You can play a pair and then throw away your hearts and your diamonds with it and keeping nothing but spades or moon clubs in your hand. Or you can just change all of your cards to spades and clubs, making it a pretty reliable card to play. I naturally actually turn my deck into spades and clubs, which kind of makes a lot of this really easy to do. And yeah, it's just something I fully recommend. As far as a Joker that I'm rating it for a gold stake run, I put this really high, like a B+, A-, because I feel like this is a Joker I can take reliably almost every time and it will help me out. Flush builds, it may not be as good. If you're trying to play flushes of hearts and diamonds, maybe it's okay, but again, then you're kind of, I don't know, I don't like that, because if you're out of discards and then you have that 1 heart in your deck, then it kind of sucks, because you're trying to rely on grabbing that last heart and then you get 2 hearts and then you can't discard it, and then let's say you're on your last hand and you need that ×3. It's not the most ideal. Yes, I do put things like Card Sharp above Blackboard, but Blackboard is one of the best early game Jokers that you can get your hands on. I fully recommend using this Joker anytime you can. ×3 Molt goes a long way when you're trying to do some things, and yeah, you guys are going to learn maybe in the next couple of episodes that this is a Joker you guys should nab up pretty early. There's not really a lot to say about this Joker, which is why I kind of wanted to make this one. It's kind of shorter, but yeah. I fully recommend the strategy with this is just to preemptively start changing things from spades and clubs and preemptively looking for maybe Onyx Agate. But yeah, when I'm new to the game, I preemptively start like turning my cards into spades and clubs, just so if I do come across Blackboard, it's easier to just go, yes, guaranteed ×3 Molt almost always. So as always, guys, if you like the video, please like, consider subscribing and pushing that notification bell. If you like the music today, please go follow Malcolm Horn on Spotify. And if you guys want to use his music in your videos or on your streams, feel free to do so. It is DMCA strike-free content. And yeah, next week I hope to see you for Smeared Joker, Bloodstone, Rough Gem, Arrowhead, and Onyx Agate. Until then, guys, take care. Have a good rest of the week, and I will see you next week for Joker Spotlight.